All right, let's go ahead and get started with this review. So I see here you're playing Zach into Graves Jungle, and just taking stock in the lanes, we might come up with a game plan, right? So I'm not sure what your game plan is here for this game, but just looking at the different lanes that you have, it seems like for the most part you don't have that many options in terms of aggressive plays in the sense that typically if you're going to be full clearing on Zach, you're going to end up in one of the side lanes, and you don't really have that much setup in bot lane. Like I imagine this lane's going to be pretty stable. If this more didn't have TP, then I would potentially considering pathing top for aggressive play early top lane, but given that this Mordekaiser has TP, I think it's actually fine to clear bot lane just because, a lot of the times, like, whatever can happen, right? Like, you'd expect this to be a pretty chilled out lane, but maybe not, right? Like, these guys might trade aggressively onto your bot, even though your bot isn't really looking to have any extended trades. Um, and then the more important thing is kind of like the enemy jungle. Graves kind of has complete flex pathing, right? Where you can do two camps, three camps, four camps, five camps, any amount, and then decide to make a play anywhere, right? Compared to, I guess, Zach, who's more traditionally a full clear jungler. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Um, cool, we're pathing bot. I think I'd probably do the same thing. Even though there isn't really anything, aggressive to do bot, but more, we can choose to play to protect, right? Which is still good because we're letting our Jinx free scale. Okay, so the very first thing we're looking for, and I'm saying that, when I'm talking about this game plan, I think I mean more your first rotation. Things obviously change in your second and third rotations, where you can always make plays with this Nunu, and I think that's going to be your main aggressive window, right? Where mid has push, you try and do something afterwards. But okay, we see. I mean, bot shows kind of late. Uh, no, they're there right off the bat. Top shows late, so we can probably assume that the Grave started topside on his red. But you should probably still hover over the Mordekaiser just to check. So one mistake I can see already here is we're not really pinging and letting our teammates know where the jungle is, right? So what you typically want to do is first you want to ping where their starting camp is with a question mark ping, and then every 20 seconds, let's see if you do any pings later on. No, so far we have no pings. Okay, this is probably already a mistake because uh, as you're clearing, your job is to always keep track of where the enemy jungler is, right? So just looking at this review here, I can't tell if you know where the enemy jungler is, right? But more important than that is your teammates also don't know where the enemy jungler is, right? So how it typically goes for the early game, first, second rotations of the jungle is you and Graves are basically going to be matched in the timers, right? That you're clearing camps. So when you clear one camp, he clears one camp. You clear another camp, he clears another camp. And that usually happens in intervals of around 20 seconds, right? Per camp. So every 20 seconds, you want to ping with a question mark ping exactly where you think he is on the map, right? So if you think he's full clearing, then you while you're doing blue, you would have pinged his red, then the Krugs, then the Raptors, right? Every time you do a camp. Um, and it's the idea is that it's similar to when laners, uh, you know, am I missing? Am I paying their missing laners, right? So for you, it's not really like even though it is the responsibility partially of your laners in order to keep track of the jungle, right, and to play weaker when they know the enemy jungler is near. It's ultimately your responsibility to let your team know at all times of the game where is the enemy jungler, right? Because you kind of have better knowledge of how that of of the pathing as well as almost more free time, right? Compared to your laners who might be busy looking at their CS, right, and trying to trade with the enemy. I don't have any comments on the clear because I've never played Zac, so I can't tell if it's there's any mistakes. But I mean, you're finishing here close to 320, so I'm sure it's fine. Though I'm pretty sure Zach can clear before 315. So maybe that is something to look into. Uh, all right. So we just check here. Okay, we see the laners move up. Did we just see grays there? What was that? No. Okay. Okay, now we see graves. Okay, let me check. If you see graves, okay, every single time you see the enemy jungler, you always want to tab counter CS. Here, it's not really required because it's basically obvious, right? Or it should be. The only thing he could have done really is full cleared and then gone for block crab, right? So you should assume that he has 24 CS, and then after the crab he's going to have 28, and he's going to have double buff. But every time, you kind of want to make it a habit, right? That every time you see the enemy jungler, you count their CS, you also look at what buffs they have, right? Because then it lets you know the exact path they did. Because if this guy if he's not level 4, he doesn't have 24 CS, then you can think, oh, what? Like, what did he skip, right? We know that he skipped camp in that case, which is important information. Anyways, oh, you almost get the solo kill. Go for top crab, and then we come top. Okay, this is probably a pretty big mistake. So this is a thing I see people do all the time, which is like so bad. Over here, it looks like you're trying to go like if I'm looking here, it looks like you're trying to go for a gank, right? On this Mordekaiser. But there is absolutely no gank to be had over here. This guy's like high enough HP, his waves just crashed. Your Aatrox probably just wants to like chill out. I mean, this wave is too thin to have like a tempo recall, but like he's probably chilling. And this Mordekaiser is probably just going to back off and let this crash, right? I think the only reason you're going for this gank is because you're thinking, oh, I'm nearby and there's a low HP enemy laner. But that's not a good reason to gank, right? Usually you want to gank for dives, you want to gank low HP targets that are free, or you want to gank to prevent crashes, right? So dives and prevent crashes are obviously some of the highest priority ganks. And normally what you would do after you do a full clear, and then you get a crab, or even if you don't get a crab, you would instantly recall, buy for a power spike, right? So I'm not sure what Zach's power spikes are. I'm assuming the first one is the AoE burn Bomb Sender at 1k gold, and then other junglers they have breakpoints like 1100 or 1350 or 1300, right? In order to get Dirk or Caulfield's Hammer or Noonquiver. So the reason you end up recalling usually is when you don't recall here, you are basically the same champion that you were at the start of the game, right? At 0-0. You're still at 0 items. Everyone else, or a lot of other people who have recalled, they've crashed on 3, they recall the enemy jungler, finishes clear, recalls. They've evolved, right? Versus you not buying are basically the same champion. Like, sure, you've gained some levels and some new abilities, but you don't have any stats, right? In your first buy. On a lot of other junglers, like let's say you're Kindred over here, you don't have enough for Noonquiver. You might just recall by the longsword or pickaxe. But instead, let's see what happens. Yeah, you come up here. This is really bad. You even burn your flash. Huge waste of time. And now you go back. Right? So let's go back to maybe like some of the reasoning here of you going for this gank and kind of like the wrong way you might be seeing this again, right? Is my assumption here is you're thinking that all of my camps are down, I have nothing to do. But that's not correct, right? Around 1420, the first non-buff camp that you've done is going to respawn. So you have about 15 seconds until you go back to your camp. And you could use that 15 seconds to reset, or instead of doing this camp, you could actually beat your camp on spawn, right? So on a champion like Zach, I assume you want XP really fast, like you want to get to level 5 and 6, and you want to put your camps on respawn faster in order to hit that level 6 power spike, right? So when we don't get to our camp on spawn, let's see what happens. Let's see what time we actually get there. Oh, Okay, wait, things changed. Your bot gets dove. Let's see, grave shows on map. Okay, we're not looking, but I mean, we're ganking right now. Normally we would be looking. Okay, I can't tell what happened there. Looks like Graves died. Jinx got one in return. Hmm. And then we go to invade him. Okay, let's hope we take the Raptors as well. No, we reset. Yeah, see, so this is kind of like, this is pretty bad. If we opted in order, like, instead of wasting time here, we just instantly recall, or even if we don't, we just get to our camp before 20 instantly. We'd already be done, this camp by now. We'd be done Wolves. We'd probably be finishing off Raptors right now, right? So from the enemy doing basically nothing aggressive against you, you've already made enough mistakes here that you're already behind, in the sense of like +3, right? And we took away Graves' Krugs, but it's honestly not worth it compared to just getting yourself ahead. Because if you took his Krugs, then you probably also want to take his Raptors versus like walking from here all the way. Okay, what path did you even take? Okay, fortunately, Zach he lets you go like so damn far. Oh, interesting. Okay, see, this is the part of me not playing Zach really showing. I thought the range for the E was a lot shorter at level 1. Oh, it's level 2. Okay, your gank top might have actually at least burned a flash if you used your E then. Yeah, instead of like showing. Let's keep playing. We're still not pinging Graves. Our team has no idea where he is. Yeah, you would assume if he's going to go back to his first spot in camp. So you'd assume he's going to Krugs, even though you took it. Did we have a ward earlier? No, we didn't. Okay, that would have been a really good place to ward. Fortunately, your top laner just 2v1s. And he kills on the very obvious gank. But the mistake is that we didn't, tell him, right? Or we didn't tell him. Yeah, we didn't tell him that Graves might be there. Okay, nice. Surely this is a kill. No, she escapes. Okay, she's gone. I would not chase here. Okay, cool. Oh no, we're chasing. Okay, this is a mistake. Okay, I can cover something else about counter jungling here, which I was about to say something, and then I see you hop this giant ass wall, which it might not be true for this champion. So typically, if you're gonna invade and you're not close to the enemy camp, right? It's almost not even worth it to go for the invade. So like over here, you were at your gromp, right? I think you might be overemphasizing how valuable these invades are, right? Because typically you want to invade when you can take, I mean, obviously for kills, but also when you can take more than one camp and you're in close proximity. So the time it takes you to go from your gromp to the enemy jungle, right? You typically count it as +1, right? What does that mean? That means, okay, it could mean, I could explain it in multiple ways. So, but the simplest way to think of it is like typically this move, every time you take a camp, that's a move, right? That's one. So when you're clearing your camp, you can think of it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And so this move from your side of the jungle to the enemy side of the jungle is also +1, right? So in terms of when you want to do early invades and you skip doing your full clear in order to do an invade, typically what will happen is let's say you do 1, 2, 3, and then this is your 4, right? You invade at the enemy red. Instead, what it's like in terms of counting your moves, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth is doing the camp here, right? Which means that the enemy jungler does 1, 2, 3, 4 camps in the time, and then you meet them at the red. So they'll have 16 CS, you'll have 12 CS. So the move here where you decide to go from your Gromp to the enemy Raptors is taking you 2 moves, not one, in order to get one camp when you could just do your own. And it's actually a lot more efficient to just do your own camps versus taking the enemies. Like if you were at this Raptors pit, if you were at this Raptors entrance right here, it's totally fine to take it. But deciding to walk all the way from your Gromp to the enemy Raptors just to take the Raptors, even though we saw Graves, is not really worth. But we do it anyways. We go for this gank. Yeah, then we chase. This is a really bad contest on the scuttle, because what did we see on Graves? He was top lane, he recalls, he's already here, right? When did we see him? He's already gone. Okay, yeah, he's already gone. So you should assume that he's basically finished his recall, and it's going to take him 20 seconds to get here. So we check that. This was at, what, 610? And there's Graves, right? Your bot lane's also pushed up. Okay, you get the Lissandra at least, but then you die. Already this trade 1-for-1 isn't worth it, because this Graves can now take your Raptors and your Krugs, right? Which is, if he's jungle tracking, he knows are up. So these are, you can basically assume these are gone, unless he goes for Dragon. I mean, does he have time to take both? Depends. Yeah, and then you trade 2-for-1 anyways. Pretty good mistake. Let's keep going. Okay. He goes for Raptors. Wait, what? Oh, okay, the Graves also messed up. He went for Crab first and then your Raptors. He did it backwards. Yeah, you should go for your Raptors first. Or your Krugs first. Maybe not the Krugs, it's too dangerous. I mean, you can definitely take the Krugs, right? Oh, Shen's really low HP. You can take it if the try was avoided. Yeah, okay. Fortunately for you, your Raptors don't get taken away because the Graves also messes up. We go for this drag. Oof. Okay, this. Let's see. Let me see. You could. The Lissandra's top. Their bot. Oh, okay. I assume they recalled. Only Shen recalled. Shen didn't even recall. He's already here. When did he recall? Let's see. Yeah, he's already gone. So that means he's back. He's recalling now. 8 seconds, 30 seconds from now. He's back around 8 minutes, right? When did we start the drag? Yeah, Shen's already back in lane. Okay, I can understand the reasoning for wanting to take this drag where we see Lissandra top, and then we, we see their Shen recall. We got the timing off on when he'd be back. But the reason it seems sus, despite the fact that Lissandra's top, is, your teammates don't really have any resources, and they're pushed in, right? So they're just trying to push out the waves. And all of your camps are up. So I think this dragon's a bit overforced. Like you can easily, use your lane prio in order to take drags, even if your camps are up, but I think there's too many red markers against this drag. Why is the Shen here so light? Oh, he's in lane. They don't even realize you're doing it. It was a pink. And you start doing it on the pink. Yeah, I guess I don't want to contest originally, right? Because of Lissandra top. Yeah, I mean, you guys could take it. No, Nunu has no mana. He's not a champion. So it doesn't even matter that he's nearby and Lissandra isn't. It's still a 3v3. This is really bad, actually. So it seems okay. Like I'm sure it seems fine that you guys got the drag, but like okay, let's look at the wave states, right? Because there was the other red flags I was talking about earlier that is kind of like screwing you guys to do this drag. But also let's look at bot wave, right? So over here, your bot laner commits resources. Your bot laners commit resources to kind of take this drag because you're forcing it. Like, let's think about what they want to do, right? They have a bunch of minions over here that are still locked close to the enemy tower. all your Jinx and Malphite want to do is crash this wave, right? They want to go in, push, and crash this wave. When you're here, forcing them to do this drag, and they commit these resources, they're basically, especially if they die here, right? It is so bad if they die here because they're going to lose this entire wave. The enemy can freeze. They're also going to lose the entire next wave, right? And then if you don't help, if you don't come and help them crash, then maybe they even lose the wave after that. So this drag might actually be losing your bot laner 3 full waves. If you win the fight, that's great, but I don't think you do. Yeah, okay, there's Malphite. Yeah. And then let's look at bot lane. What's happening here, right? And this one's gone. This next wave, gone. The wave after that, gone. Yeah. Am I miscounting the waves? There was the initial wave, right, which they definitely lose. The next one should be 30 seconds from now. Yeah, which they also lose. So it's another 30 seconds. Oh, the enemy bot. Okay, you got a bit saved, and the enemy bot laner doesn't freeze that, but yeah, we denied our Jinx at least, like. Oh, she went mid. Okay, maybe not the Jinx, but our team a shit ton of gold. Let's see. Shut the Rift here. I'm a bit more fine with the Rift, I think. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Nunu's coming back off a fresh reset. We have Prio top lane. Yeah, I think the Rift is fine. We just clear. Use Rift Herald. This might be a bad Rift Herald. You still have 2 minutes left on it. Isn't this thing full plates? Unless you just instantly want the gold for Power Spike. Which I believe you have, right? Don't you have your item right now? Okay, let me see when you recall. Okay, we still have a shit ton of... How? Oh my god, you had your item like way before, right? Sunfire. It was only 900 gold. Okay. So over here, you already have your Sunfire, it seems. So the Rift Herald isn't really for an item spike. And then you don't recall for shit time, like a huge amount of time. Okay, that's definitely a huge mistake. Whenever you get these massive item spikes, like your mythic or your second item or your third full item, you don't want to be active on the map, right? Because what you want to be doing is you want to recall instantly, unless there's like a pressing need for, a counter gank or something on the map or a dive somewhere on the map. You want to instantly recall, buy your item, and then be active on the map, right? Because your mythic spike, I'm not sure if this is true for Trundle, or sorry, not Trundle, that's a slip. I'm not sure if this is true for Zac. It should be, but to like a lesser extent of like other champions like Trundle, is when you get your mythic spike, right? And especially if you get it before other people, that's like a huge, huge window where you get to make aggressive plays, right? So because you're not recalling in order to get this item, you're almost inactive, right, on the map. Like if your team wants to make a play and you want to join them, the support that you provide is significantly, significantly lesser compared to when you get that mythic. So I play a lot of Trundle, and that's especially true with his first mythic spike of Divine Sunder, or if you're playing something like Rek'Sai and you get Prowlers, right? Because those are actually some game-defining spikes for those champions. Like with Rek'Sai, he's like a completely different champion. Prowlers versus pre-Prowlers versus post-Prowlers, and then Trundle, same with him. Once he gets Divine Sunder, he can literally recall and just run at the enemy, right? It's like so many of the games that I'll play, as soon as I get my Divine Sunder, I just recall and I just force any objective. Rift Herald Dragon, like I don't care what it is because I know I'm gonna just destroy the enemy if they fight me, right? And they don't have their mythics. Like even if it's a 3 versus 2, it's crazy what you can do with Trundle. You just win a lot of the times because of how game defining that Sunder item breakpoint is for Trundle. So going back to Zach, I don't know how significant that spike is, but typically not going for the spike, mistake. Instead, we clear, and then I already saw that in your when we went further ahead that you basically don't recall until you have like 2.5k gold, right? Which is a massive mistake, huge mistake. Because yeah, your support here is like it's so much weaker compared to if you had the item. Yeah, again, we're just like we're clearing camps because we're here, but like the recall is definitely more important. Because why are we clearing these camps, right? We're clearing these camps in order to get golden XP, but inside, like on you right now, you already have a ton of golden XP that you can use, right? This is all inactive gold that you don't have in stats, right? The camps give you stats. Once you recall and use that gold in order to actually get those stats. Mm, this would be your guys' second drag. I think with Zach, maybe it's fine to go for steal. It's not really required. Let me see. I wasn't looking enough at the game state, except you, to see if we have other options here. I mean, you just killed their mid lane, right? Isn't this a bit illegal from the enemy team? Guess you don't have your cooldowns. Yeah, this is a bit illegal from the enemy team. Yeah, I'm fine with that contest. Because yeah, like I can't believe they're doing this. They haven't even started it yet, right? Yeah, they started like after the Lissandra dies. Well, you started. No, no, they're there. Okay, this is like so int from the enemy. These guys bots. You just finished the dread, and they're just chilling. Okay. Uh, yeah. When we actually recall, holy shit! So not only do you get your Sunfire Cape, you also get CDR boots, and you also get a Kindle Gem, and you also get a Ruby Crystal. That's a horrible recall. Like recalling this late. Okay. Usually I only look at the early game of the jungle, so I think we've already found like enough mistakes here. And then recapping on it, I guess let's see, how would I recap these mistakes? It's like uh, one was not being considerate of your time and paying attention to when your camps are actually respawning, so that you don't go for stuff just because you're thinking, oh, I have nothing to do, right? Like that top gank. The two is maybe over prioritizing some of these invades when they basically put yourself behind because of how much time it takes you to get to the enemy jungler. The jungle tracking, where basically you haven't pinged where Graves is the entire game, right? When that's solely your responsibility. Um, Three, or no, this is four, was the recalling for power spikes, which this is like I think just this itself is like at least another plus like 100 LP, right? 100, 200 LP by not, you know, playing around power spikes. Uh, that was four or that was five, I forget. Anyways, and then the next one was kind of just like looking at the waves before you decide to, do objectives, right? Paying attention to what your teammates might want to do and not overvaluing some of these objectives just because you're thinking, oh, like the jungler's not here, we can take this, the enemy's not here, blah blah blah. um I guess even rehashing that even more, I can go more in depth into the drag point because this one's like pretty significant. I feel like people throw games so hard over drags, right? So another example of when it might be a really bad drag to do is, let's say it's around like 6 or 7 minutes into the game, right? You gank their bot laner and then you push in the wave. Uh, that is usually one of the worst times you can do dragon. And the reason for it is after you kill somebody, whether it's the enemy junglers, the enemy laners, you have one move, right? The reason you have one move is because the enemies will respawn and then they'll be active on the map. You will have ganked bot lane. You and your bot laners will have committed all of your resources in order to make the gank succeed. And then your one move is pushing in the lane. When you decide to take another move and do the dragon, this is at 6 or 7 minutes, the enemy laners will have respawned, have full resources while you have none, run straight to drag and kill all of you, right? They don't have to catch this wave because killing you at drag is worth way more, right, than catching the bot wave. And the reasoning, like the thing that people usually think is, I've killed the enemy laners, right? This drag is free, but no, it's the exact opposite, where the enemy team actually has a turn to do drag, right? Because you've used your turn to push the wave, and then you all need to recall. So the similarity to here is that you see Shen gone, and you think, oh, I have a turn to do dragon, but it's a false flag. Because your bot laners need to push out this wave. Okay, I think that's probably majority of it for the early game jungle for this game. The main other thing I would say to focus on, which is, it's hard to point to. It's hard to just say this once, and it's more of like a thing you have to always do is like just pay more attention to actually looking at your lanes, because it seems like a lot of the game you're just looking at yourself, but it's hard to say because I'm skipping forward by 5 seconds every time, right? So it's possible that you just look there and then I miss it. Because the main thing you want to always be paying attention to is slow pushes, right? So you need to pay attention to slow pushes in order to determine when you need to shadow a laner, if you think the enemy jungler is there, when you can dive, and when you can counter gank. Or I guess shadowing and counter ganking fall into the same bucket, right? When you need to prevent dives, I guess. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna leave the review at that. Let me know if you have any questions.